Welcome to the daily views on September 10th in 2021. And today we start in Melbourne, Australia. Despite a strict lockdown that has been in place for more than a month, the corona numbers in the Australian state of Victoria continue to rise. The authorities in the region with the metropolis of Melbourne reported 324 locally transmitted new infections on Thursday. That's more than in almost 13 months. More than 300 cases were most recently registered in Victoria in mid-August 2020. The state in Eastern Australia is in lockdown for the sixth time since the beginning of the pandemic. Still, authorities plan to ease restrictions in most part of the region from Friday. For example, cafes and restaurants should be allowed to reopen under certain conditions. Only the neighbouring state of New South Wales, with the metropolis of Sydney, is worse than Victoria. More than 1,000 new infections have been reported there for a long time. Australia, with its around 25 million inhabitants, has pursued a zero-COVID strategy for many months and tried to completely eradicate the virus with closed external borders and strict lockdowns. With the spread of the Delta variant, however, several regional governments had to admit that the strategy no longer works. There was always criticism of the vaccination campaign, which started slowly at first. Almost 40% of the adult population are now fully vaccinated, significantly less than in many other Western countries. And now let's go to Beijing in China. China has promised Afghanistan humanitarian aid worth 200 million yuan, which corresponds to the equivalent of 26 million euros. These include grain, medicine and vaccines, as the foreign ministry announced in Beijing on Thursday. Foreign Minister Wang Yi made the commitment at a video conference with his counterparts from other neighboring countries to Afghanistan. In a first batch of vaccines, China will deliver 3 million doses of corona vaccine. The People's Republic is also ready to provide further emergency aid and goods for the fight against the pandemic. Afghanistan is facing serious challenges such as humanitarian problems and the pandemic, Wang Yi said in the talks, according to the ministry. The neighboring states wanted to help Afghanistan get out of the chaos, but they also called on the USA to meet their responsibilities after the withdrawal. They are more obliged than any other country to provide economic and humanitarian aid to support the Afghans, maintain stability and avoid chaos, says he at least. In addition to Wang Yi, the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Iran, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and the deputy foreign minister of Turkmenistan also took part in the video conference. And now let's go to Brussels in Belgium. For the first time in around 16 years, NATO is using units of its NRF crisis reaction force. According to research by the German press agency, around 300 soldiers are currently deployed to help with the care and temporary accommodation of Afghans who were brought from their homeland to Europe after the Taliban came to power. In addition, there are hundreds of NATO employees who support the operation from commandos and headquarters. NRF units were last deployed in 2005 to help victims of Hurricane Katrina in the USA and the earthquake in Pakistan. Other proposals for their use failed due to a lack of unanimity among the alliance states. In 2009, for example, the USA proposed using the force to reinforce NATO's military operations in Afghanistan, but Germany and other NATO states rejected this. The NRF, which was established in the years after 2002, has therefore never completed combat missions. The total strength of the troops was last given as 40,000 soldiers. They are provided by different NATO countries on an annual basis. According to the alliance, the new mission is primarily about supplying evacuated Afghans who have worked with NATO and still have no long-term place to stay. That is around 1,400 people, including family members. According to information from the German press agency, emergency shelters have been set up for them in Kosovo and Poland. And now let's go to Berlin in Germany. 3,518. That is the number of murder cases for which a former concentration camp guard has to answer before the European District Court because of his involvement from October 7th. According to the indictment, the now 100-year-old defendant is alleged to have knowingly and willingly provided assistance to the cruel murder of inmates in the Sachsenhausen concentration camp near Berlin between 1942 and 1945. It is about complicity in murder in 3,518 cases. The court has scheduled 22 trial days until January. The man is only partially able to negotiate, as an expert opinion stated. Therefore, he could only attend the hearing for a few hours. That's why so many trial days have been set, said court spokeswoman Iris Leclerc. Legal processing is important for the survivors of those killed in the camp. The Central Office of the State Justice Administrations for the Investigation of National Socialist Crimes, based in Ludwigsburg, investigates guards who are still alive. If a former security guard is found, the procedure is referred to the responsible public prosecutor's office. But even then, a process is not certain. Proceedings are repeatedly dropped because the accused have died in the meantime or can no longer appear in court for health reasons. According to the memorial site there, more than 200,000 people were imprisoned in the Sachsenhausen concentration camp between 1936 and 1945. Tens of thousands of prisoners died there as a result of hunger, illness, forced labor, medical experiments, and mistreatment, or were victims of systematic extermination. And now, let's go to Seoul in South Korea. The self-declared nuclear power North Korea has, according to media reports, held a night military parade for the first time in months. The South Korean news agency Yonhap reported on Thursday, citing state media in the neighboring country, that the ruler Kim Jong-un followed the parade on the founding day in Pyongyang. It was initially unclear whether strategic weapons were shown. South Korean military circles had previously said that the army show probably started shortly after midnight. North Korea often uses major holidays to demonstrate military strength. The country last held a night military parade in January, and before that in October 2020. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.